Hi everybody, this is a 30-minute mobility class. So really short, we'll be working relatively quickly, and it's not safe for you, I'm afraid, if you are pregnant. If you're recently postnatal, it should be fine as long as you've had clearance from your doctor that you can exercise. And if you're injured, as with all exercises, just see how it feels for your body and back away if anything feels uncomfortable. Other than that, I think we're all good to go. So if you are ready, let's move to the end of our mat. We're going to start there for a moment. And I just want you to relax. So relax your shoulders. Don't worry about being in neutral here. Just get comfortable, soften into it, close your eyes, and let's just spend a couple of minutes here just slowing the breath down, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. Do a bit of a body scan, so just see how your body feels. Maybe this is the first time all day you've actually stopped and had time to think about how your body feels. So just take a moment to do that. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes, and I just want us straight away to go into a roll down. So chin to chest, peeling down a vertebra at a time. And when you get down to the bottom, just try and relax and soften into it. The back of the knees, ideally soft. So try not to lock out your knees and just hang. Just hang here for a moment. See how this first roll down feels. Any tight spots? Where do you feel is the hardest place here? Where's the most uncomfortable part of this stretch? Is it the back of your neck? Is it calves, hamstrings, lower back? And then when you're ready, take a nice big deep breath in, and as you exhale, slowly start rolling all the way back up to standing. And when you get to the top, just meet me back up there. This time try and find neutral. So feet are hip width apart and parallel, knees are soft. The pelvis is almost like a bowl of water that you don't want to spill. The rib cage is stacked over the top of the pelvis, and your arms are by your side, just showing off your collarbone. Then I want you to stay in neutral, reach your arms up overhead, hold it there for a moment. And are you still in neutral? Take your right hand, grab your left wrist, and then just pull that arm up. Feel as if you're pulling the arm almost out of its socket. Try not to lean to the right just yet. So first we want to initiate pulling on the arm and really drawing up through those lats. Then we can start thinking about side bending. So then you're going to pull that arm over to the right, coming into lateral flexion. And the reason I asked you to get into neutral is so that here we're not in some sort of dodgy position. We're not rounding, we're not back bending. We're trying to stay nice and flat, I guess, from the side. And then when you're ready, come back to the top, reset, swap arms, left hand grabs right wrist. First, pull the arm up. So get that lovely lat stretch, pull, and then when you're ready, reach up and over. So flexing to the left, feeling that lovely stretch down the right side of the body. If we lean back, it will then end up kind of going into the QL, so side of your lower back. Whereas if you're rounding forwards, it's really going to start to change where the stretch goes to. So try and be nice and flat. And then when you're ready, come back to the top, separate your arms again, come back to where we started, and then do another roll down. Chin to chest, peeling down, the knees should still be soft. Roll down, roll down, roll down. And when you get to the bottom, just hold it there again. Do a bit of a scan. Where do you feel the stretch most? Are you a bit closer to the ground than at the beginning or on that first roll down? And then a nice big breath in as you exhale, rebuild back up, coming back again to stand in neutral. Now, one last time, reach your arms up overhead, and then I want you to go with the arms. So don't feel that you have to stay in neutral. Reach up, stretch up. You've already got that bit of lat stretch from the last stretch. So reach up, touch the ceiling. Can you feel your abdominals stretching here? And you'll probably be in extension, or hopefully you'll be in extension here. So we should be lengthening the spine. And then when you're ready, come back to neutral and then roll down. Last roll down, come all the way to the bottom, the knees are soft, and then just stay there a second. Now keep the right leg as it is, so the knee is soft, not locked. Bend your left knee as much as you can. Left hand goes to the outside of your right leg, right arm spirals to the ceiling, and we're in a spine twist. So remember, this is not about the right arm going as far as it will go. It's about the rib cage shining around the room, or the spine twisting. The more we bend the left knee, the deeper the stretch will be up the back of that right leg. And then when you're ready, come back to the center, both legs are straight but not locked, and then bend the right knee. Right hand outside of the left leg, left arm spirals up, but we're thinking twisting the spine, not just taking a pec stretch. And hold it here. Breathing into it, seeing if you can bend your right knee a touch more to get a deeper stretch through the left leg. And then when you're ready, come back to the center and just hold it there. Knees are soft, not locked. When you're ready, I want you to interlace the fingers, put the hands on the back of your head, and just let the arms be heavy. So rather than pulling on the back of your neck, I just want you to let the arms kind of do their work. So just let the weight of those arms gently stretch out those neck extensors, and holding it here. And what you'll probably find is it also makes the part of the chain, the postural chain that's tightest, stretch even more. So if you were feeling it most in your hamstrings, you should feel it more in your hamstrings now. And then when you're ready, you can let those arms go. Nod your head yes a few times, shake your head no, roll the shoulders, shake out your wrists, and then bend and straighten your legs a few times. And then I want you to bend your knees enough that you can get your hands flat on the floor. So palms glued to the ground. And it doesn't matter how far down you have to go to get that. Now glue the palms down, look between your knees, big deep breath in, and as you exhale, try and straighten out your legs as much as you can without lifting the palm. And then inhale, relax it off. Do it again, exhale, try and straighten out your legs without lifting the palms. Inhale, we let it go. And we're going to do this a few more times. This should almost feel impossible, so it should actually be quite unpleasant. If it's really easy, you're super bendy, start with elbows that are bent, so you're having to come closer to the floor. I want it to be a challenge for everyone, and you don't actually have to fully straighten the legs. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Try and straighten the legs as much as you can. We have not lifted those palms. Hold it there. We should feel the stretch all the way up the back of the body. Not particularly nice. And then when you're ready, bend your knees to relax the stretch a bit, and then carefully come out to hands and knees and meet me down on 4-point kneeling. So once you're down here on hands and knees, cat-cow, we're going to take a big deep breath in. We're going to exhale to round the spine into cat stretch. So tuck that tailbone under, relax the back of your neck. What I see people do most in cat stretch is focus a lot on the upper back. Maybe you've spent all day in flexion there. Instead, I would focus on that lower back. Think about really trying to tuck that pelvis under and really scooping up through the belly button. And then when you're ready, come back to neutral and go the opposite way. Go into extension. This time, I would probably focus on the upper back. Again, because our lifestyles tend to be a lot of upper back flexion. So try to go into extension here. We should feel a stretch in the abdominals, and the back of the neck is smooth. And then when you're ready, come back to neutral and we'll move with the breath. We're going to exhale to cat stretch, then inhale to go through into extension. Exhale to flex the spine. Inhale to extend the spine, just so that we're working with the breath rather than against it. Because when we breathe in, we naturally extend our spines as the rib cage opens out. And as we exhale, we naturally flex the spine as the ribs draw in. So just do a couple more of these. Where do we feel tightness? And then when you're done, meet me back in neutral and then just hold it there a second. Carefully push yourself up to standing kneel. And then we're going to take the right foot forward so the heel is just a little bit in front of the knee. So it's not directly underneath. We need somewhere to go, but it's not a long stride. Take a moment to find a neutral pelvis. So rib cage then stacks over that. And then maintaining neutral, you can then start to just shift your hips forwards, opening up that back hip flexor, that left hip. And you'll notice here that I'm not going really far because our hip flexor, we've only really got 10 to 15 degrees of hip extension. So if I'm going really far, I'll end up bypassing my hip flexor. And it's probably that I've got that movement from my back instead. So try and stay neutral and then only go forwards as far as you can stay in neutral. Lovely, holding it here, breathing into it. And then when you're ready, carefully come back out of it just for a moment. Then I want you to go back into it on the exhale, and on the inhale, ease it off. Exhale, we go into it. Inhale, we ease it back off. And again, it shouldn't really be a huge movement because we're only really maybe doing like 10 to 15 degrees of hip extension. Yeah? As soon as you go past that, you are going to move your pelvis and you're going to change that stretch. Or essentially, you're just going with the muscle. So it doesn't lengthen anymore. It just becomes a cheat. And then we're going to do 2 more of these. Now on the next one, you're going to come into that hip flexor stretch and hold. Then I want you to reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. So we've got left arm in the air, left knee on the floor. Reach that left arm down your back, between your shoulder blades if you can get it there. Put your right hand on your left elbow, and I will show you from another angle in a sec. And then start to gently flex to the right. So just like at the start, try not to rotate or lean forwards. And then just showing you from another angle. So I've got my left hip flexor stretched out, and I'm flexed over to my right. So I'm trying to open up that whole left side of the body. And then maintaining that side bend, inhale to come out of the hip flexor stretch a little bit, exhale to deepen it again, just like we've practiced. So we come out of it a little bit and then we deepen it a little bit. Just do 3 more of these. Good. Last 2. Almost there. Watch the rib cage isn't flaring. That would indicate you're leaning back. Last one, go into it and hold. And then carefully restack the spine back to neutral. Relax your arms and then carefully come out of that stretch. Then I want you to just flip over onto your backs for a moment and extend your left leg along the floor and hug your right knee in towards your chest. So left leg, the one that we've just been opening up through the front of the hip, is extended along the floor. We're hugging our right knee into the chest. And then I want you to really push your left heel away. So you're really feeling like you're trying to open up the front of that hip. And then if you do feel like you've got quite tight hip flexors, you love a good hip flexor stretch, do bear in mind that sometimes actually it's a weak hip flexor, not just a tight one. It can also be weak glutes, but you can also do this over the edge of a bed. So you could have your bum at the edge of the bed and then your leg hanging over, so you get more of a stretch. Just remember though that if it's going really far, you will probably be compensating by changing the shape of your spine. Or you could put a yoga block under your pelvis in this position, so underneath your sacrum to prop yourself up. But just holding it here, squeezing that right knee into the chest. Hold it for 3. And 2, and then gently release. Now bring the bottom of the feet together into a butterfly stretch. So bottom of your feet are together, your heels are as close to your pelvis as you can get. So you're in this sort of butterfly stretch. Then take your arms, grab your elbows, and let the arms go overhead. Then once you're there, some of us are going to find we've gone into a back bend because we've opened up the front of the body. See if you can then try and come back to neutral. Or even better, would actually almost be a bit of imprint. So almost try and press your spine into the floor, whilst then trying to bring your knees and your elbows closer to the ground. So we feel all the front of the body, hopefully opening up. So feel the inner thighs, hip flexors, bit of pecs. And then when you're ready, you can gently relax. So coming back over onto kneeling, we've got that right hip flexor. So coming back to a standing kneel position, we then bring the left foot forward so the heel is just a little bit in front of the knee, so we've got somewhere to go. But remember, we're not going too far. Find neutral, so take a moment just to try and get a nice stack. And then when you're ready, you're going to carefully push the hips forwards until you feel a stretch in this right hip flexor. But remember, if you're going really far, then something's not right. So we go out and we hold this first one here. You might have to engage this right glute a little bit so that it helps to tuck the pelvis back under if it's being pulled forwards by that hip flexor. So that would probably happen if your hip flexors are really tight and it's trying to pull the front of the hip forwards with it. So we're holding it here, just breathing into it. If the rib cage is flaring, we can pretty much guarantee we're in a back bend, and then just breathing into it. Lovely. Final 3 and 2. And then we inhale to come out of it a little bit. Exhale to go back into it. Inhale, come back to neutral, and then exhale to push into it a little bit. Just make sure it's not too quick. Okay, so as we come out of the stretch, it should be controlled. We ease into it, we come out with control, and we're still keeping that nice neutral position. We're going to do 3 more. Lovely, last 2, keep the ribs stacked. Last one, go out and hold and stay. And just check again that the pelvis hasn't tilted forwards because that loses your stretch. Now this time it's right arm up to the ceiling. Reach like you've been doing in the previous couple of stretches earlier on, and then bend at the elbow, put the hand between your shoulder blades if you can. Left hand goes on top of your elbow, and then just watch you've not gone into extension, which I just had, and then flex to the left. So now we should feel a stretch running up the right side of the body. Do you notice any differences? This right side feels much tighter for me, so there might be a difference for you, particularly if you're right-handed. And again, just check you're not leaning backwards or twisting forwards. Just hold it here. And then when you're ready, see if you can keep that lateral flexion. Inhale, come out of this a little bit. Exhale, push into it. Inhale, release a bit. And exhale, press. And we're just going to do a few more of these, still trying to maintain a neutral spine, just so that we know we're not compensating elsewhere. And on the last one, take it back out, hold it there. Do you need to lean to the left a touch more? And then when you're ready, come back to neutral, let the arm go, come out of the stretch, and then have a quick rest. Flip over onto your backs, and then this time you straighten your right leg out along the mat, and you hug your left knee into your chest, and just hold it there for a moment. So pressing that heel away, so you get that really long leg feeling. It's almost like someone's pulling your leg out of the hip socket. Again, if you wanted to put something under your pelvis here to lift it up, you'd already then take the heel lower than the hip, which brings you into hip extension, which gives you that deeper stretch. But otherwise, you can just hold it here. It doesn't always have to be really aggressive. And breathe. Lovely. For final 3 and 2, and then when you're ready, you can relax. Now try and bring both knees into the chest, hands behind your knees, roll up onto your bums for me, come to seated with the knees bent. Flex your ankles, grab your toes, and then tuck your chin towards your chest. And then from here, you can either walk the feet forwards one at a time until the legs are as straight as you can get them, or you could wriggle your bum cheeks back, one bum cheek at a time, until your legs are as straight as you can get them. And then once you're there, you're going to hold, but you mustn't let go of those toes. So don't worry if you can't get your legs completely straight. If your legs are straight though, think about pulling up through your kneecap. So think about the patella being pulled up by your quad, or think about the back of the knee pressing down towards the floor a little bit, and that might lift your heels off the floor a touch. If your legs are not straight, obviously you're going to work on then just trying to get them straight. And if your legs are straight and you have pressed the back of the knee into the floor, you could also bend your elbows to get a deeper stretch, and then just holding it here. Breathing into it. Final 3, relax the back of your neck. 2. Now try and maintain this level of stretch, but interlace the fingers and put the hands on the back of your head again, and see how that then takes a stretch that was probably already a bit uncomfortable, makes it a bit more uncomfortable. It shouldn't be painful, but if you have a head forward posture or you spend a lot of time staring at a laptop, stretching out the back of your neck is going to be really important, opening up the back of your body. So holding it here for 3 and 2, and then when you're done, you can gently release, roll all the way back up to seated, and just have a quick wiggle. Now come back over to hands and knees for me first of all. So come back to 4-point kneeling. And then once you're here, I want you to take your right hand and put it on the floor to the right hand side of your mat with your palm down and your fingers pointing to the right, yeah? So palm is down, fingers are pointing off to the right. And then from here, you're going to start sliding that arm away and coming down towards the ground. Now, in an ideal world, you'd get the side of your head on the floor. So my right arm is out to the right. I've got the right side of my head on the floor. And I'm almost trying to get my right shoulder to touch the floor as well. That might be a stretch, literally, for some of us, in which case just get as low as is comfortable for you and just hold it there and feel that stretch running along the bicep and through the pec. If you're super bendy, as long as you're not hypermobile, in which case you're just kind of cheating, get the shoulder to the floor and then work on slightly rotating to the left. And again, this is a great stretch if you're at a laptop all day, if you're typing a lot or you're driving a lot, really try and open up the front of that right arm and that right pec. Breathing into it. It's not always the nicest stretch. Can you get any lower for 2? Now coming out of it, you need to use your left arm to help push you up rather than pushing into that right arm, which you've just stretched out. And then do the other side. I'm going to need to move over. So into full point kneeling, left hand goes on the floor to the left, the fingers are pointing to the left, and then bending your right elbow, you're going to slide that left arm away. I still don't have enough space. Maybe I change positions. Here we go. So I'm moving my left arm away. It's still in line with my shoulder. I'm going to come down as low as I can. If I can get the left side of my head on the floor, even better. But it's not the end of the world if you're up here, as long as you're feeling a good stretch. And then when you're as low as is comfortable, you can hold. If you want more, you can try to rotate to the right a little bit so that then you're feeling a bit more of a stretch on that left side. Breathing into it. Again, it's not always the nicest of stretches. For 3, can you get any lower? Last 2. Then use this right arm. Don't use your left palm, use your right arm to push yourself back up, sliding that hand back in. And then you might want to come up to a full point kneeling and just give the arms a bit of a wiggle and a bit of a shake out if that wasn't very nice. Then back to full point kneeling. Just turn the palm of your right hand up and bring the back of your right hand onto the floor so the fingers are pointing towards your knees. So I'm just bringing that hand into the opposite position here, a bit of flexion just to give it a break, and then swap hands. So left hand, I'm going to turn it upside down, fingers pointing towards my left knee, back of the hand is on the floor, and just give it a quick breather. And then when you're ready, come back to full point kneeling. Now take your knees as wide as the mat, if you can, maybe even a bit wider. Bring the big toes together and then sit your bum back first. So get that bum as far back as possible. For some of us, that will feel like quite a stretch through the front of the ankle, and that's not a bad thing. And then start to walk your hands forwards for me into a child's pose, trying to keep the bum on the heels though. So just make sure that as you walk your hands forwards, your bum doesn't start to creep up. It does need to be a balance. So we want the bum back and the fingers forwards. And almost imagine you're being pulled in half. Think back to when we were grabbing our wrists at the start and we were really trying to stretch the lats out by pulling the arm up the side of the rib cage. Do the same here by walking those fingers up the mat. But again, we still want that feeling of the bum pushing back. Holding it there, bringing your chest towards the floor. And then when you're ready, take your right hand off the right side of your mat, put your left hand on top of it, and then start to rotate, looking underneath that right armpit. So we're twisting, looking to the right. So we've got our stretch through the hips, knees, and ankles from that original child's pose legs. Then we've got a stretch running down the left side of the rib cage. So we might feel a bit of lats, we might feel some QL, and it should be really nice. If you're not feeling anything, try pushing the rib cage to the left a bit more, still rotating, but just increasing that lateral flexion. Hold it here for 3 and 2, and then unravel, come back through the center other side. So left hand off the left side of the mat, right hand on top, rotate to the left, and hold it there. Check the bum hasn't started to creep up. Can we keep the bum down? If you don't feel a stretch down the right side of the body, push the rib cage to the right a little bit, and hopefully then you can feel it. Otherwise, you might be super, super bendy. Breathing into it here, twisting a bit more. 3 and 2. Unravel, come back to your original child's pose. Just see if you can walk those fingers up the mat any further whilst pushing that bum back. And then when you're ready, I'd bring the hands either side of your head and push yourself up with your arms, and then come to standing kneel. So just a quick reminder before we come onto our tummies of thoracic extension. So fingers to temples, a nice neutral start position, so particularly the pelvis. We're going to take an inhale and we're going to start to take the eye line up towards the ceiling into thoracic extension. Now the difference here compared to the very beginning of the class when we were in standing and I said just go with the arms, was that in that position some of us will have taken our lower back into extension as well. That would look a bit more like this. Here I want the lower back to stay in neutral. So try and focus on just lengthening your upper back. And then when you're ready, use your abdominals on your exhale to bring the rib cage back to neutral, and then do it again. Inhale, lengthen the upper back. Exhale, come back to neutral. And just do that a couple more times. So we're feeling like the rib cage is flitting forwards or flaring, but the lower back isn't changing shape. We'll do that one more time. Come back to neutral and then rest. Come down onto your tummies, and we're going to do exactly the same movement, sort of. So we're down on our tummies, legs are hip width apart and parallel. Hands are going to be sort of next to your chest or underneath the tip of the shoulder. The elbows are pricked up like a cricket, and you can rest your nose or your chin or your forehead on the floor. Then I want you to take a moment to press your pubic bone into the ground so that you're not going to get into too much of the lower back. So push your pubic bone into the floor. Take a nice big deep breath in, and then as you exhale, using your arms just a little bit, come back into that thoracic extension again, and just hold that first one there. So again, the pelvis doesn't change. It's not all in the lower back, so because I haven't changed my lower back, I've not gone that high. My upper back has lengthened though against gravity, and the back of my neck is still smooth, so it should not look like this. Try not to come up too high. Inhale, hold it here. Exhale, slowly come back down. Do it again. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, use your hands just a little bit to lift up into thoracic extension. Inhale to stay and exhale to come down. Now regulars, you'll recognise this. It's breaststroke, isn't it? But usually I'm asking you, don't use your arms, or I don't even give you the opportunity to, because I want it to be more about giving you the strength in your upper back to get here. But actually here, I do want you to use your arms a little bit just so that you can allow yourself to get into thoracic extension. You can show off that collarbone, but it's not going to completely exhaust you. And we're just going to do one more of these, and then it's going to change slightly. So now we come back to the bottom. We're going to take a big breath in, and this time as we exhale, we're going to come past thoracic extension, and we're going to keep going, and we are going to need the arms here. And we're going to kind of come up into Swan Dive. Now we're all going to end up at different heights here. So some of us might have really bent elbows. This might be the limit. That's completely fine. Some of you might get the arms completely straight. But what I don't want is the pubic bone to come off the floor. If that lifts, I'm basically just in a half plank. I want the pubic bone connected to the ground. Once you're here, show off your collarbone. Let the rib cage flare. And now you can probably feel that we are in our lower back. We are in lumbar extension. We're going to inhale to hold it here, and as we exhale, we're going to start peeling back down. I want you to feel the hip bones, belly button, rib cage and chest, and then your nose touch the floor last, and then do that again. Breathe in to prepare, press that pubic bone into the ground, exhale, peel, nose, chest, ribs, belly button, hip bones, leave the floor, but the pubic bone doesn't. And ideally, it would look like a nice C curve almost, rather than a straight line. But we do what we can. We inhale, stay, and then we exhale to peel back down. So I almost want you to imagine that you're like a necklace being taken off of a coffee table. So it's kind of like a chain or a link at a time curling off the mat, rather than it just feeling a bit like a push-up in a half plank position. That's definitely what I don't want. And I'd almost rather that you didn't go as high than you cheated. So maybe you get here and you just really lengthen through that breastbone and then you roll back down. The strange thing about this one is it's actually much harder on the arms if you don't come up as high. So if you are a bit tight, it is going to feel really quite difficult for your arms. Coming to here and then coming down is actually a lot harder. So if you're finding it really difficult, don't worry. It's sometimes just if you haven't got the mobility there, the arms are going to have to take over. And then just do one more. This is your last one. You can come up and hold. Hopefully it's not completely horrific, but it's not always the nicest stretch in the world. I feel like I've said that for pretty much every stretch we've done tonight. And then when you're ready, slowly, slowly peel all the way back down to the bottom. And I would just turn the head to one side and let the arms come to the sides of the body. Let the shoulders collapse around you and just let those shoulders have a quick rest. Breathing into it. Just try and melt into the floor if you can. Lovely. And then when you're ready, use your hands to push yourself into a shell stretch. So we need to go from extension into flexion. So for shell stretch, we imagine that we are rounding our spine over a beach ball, or we can imagine maybe that we've got a pregnant belly, or that you look like a little turtle, whatever works for you, but you need a rounded spine. So tuck under, just like with cat stretch. And then bring your hands either side of your head, push yourself up to kneeling, come to 4-point kneeling to finish off. So meet me back on hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, keep your knees bent and lift your bums up into the air, just like normal, into your modified down dog. So not straight legs, bent legs. If you're looking at your mat, look at your legs instead. Get the back of that neck to switch off. If you've got to give it a wiggle, that's also fine. Nod it, shake it. Open your mouth, stick out your tongue as far as it will go, and then make the HA sound. So, big deep breath in and do it again. Open that mouth as wide as it will go. Stick out your tongue. Do that one more time. Really relaxing that jaw. And then when you're done, keep the feet where they are. Walk your hands to your feet until your feet are flat on the floor. The legs are straight, but they're not locked. And are you closer to the ground than that very first roll down of the night? And then take a nice big deep breath, and as you exhale, gradually roll up nice and slowly, a vertebra at a time, until you're all the way back in neutral. So we end how we started. Hold it there for a couple of big deep breaths. Relax the shoulders, relax your face. And then when you're done, you can rest and have a wiggle and have a quick shake out. And hopefully you feel a bit looser, maybe more relaxed, who knows? Maybe that was not relaxing at all, but hopefully you got something from it. If you're doing the class live and you've got any questions before you leave, do stay and chat. I'll be with you in a second. Otherwise, do go and enjoy the rest of your night, have some dinner. If you're watching this on demand, I hope you enjoyed it. There are other mobility routines in the on-demand library as well. So make the most of those, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.